Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast or media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, LuckyEevee, and Mathmachine. Today is our 37th episode, and we're discussing 2009's Batman Brave and the Bold episode, Day of the Dark Knight. So, let's get things started. Batman Brave and the Bold was an animated Batman series, and what's interesting about it is that it called back more to the Silver Age of Batman than, say, Batman the Animated Series or The Batman. And for me, it is definitely a very underrated show.
Yeah.
It definitely, it knows what it is, and it knows that it has a lot of fun with it. And it gave us a lot of great moments. It definitely gave us perhaps one of the best versions of Aquaman out there.
And
So
honestly,
that alone is a plus.
And honestly, it's very, ever since I heard about this, it was very funny finding out that the same person who did Rex Kwon Do from Dynamite or Napoleon Dynamite was pretty much Batman.
Yeah, Dietrich Bader. Yeah, he does a fantastic job as Batman, I feel. You wouldn't think that he could play the character well, but it actually turns out a lot better than you think.
Hell yeah.
And the episode we're talking about today is an episode early on in the series. It actually, I think, was the
Episode 3.
Episode 3. Wow, so this is really early on. But yet, it doesn't have that oddness that a lot of shows did when they first started out in that. It basically got to the point right away, which is a sign of a good show. So anyway, the episode... Yeah.
Usually
exactly.
takes one good episode.
Oh, it was episode 4. Never mind. Sorry.
All good. Yeah. So the episode begins like most episodes that Brave and the Bold do. It has a cold open that is unrelated to the main episode for the most part, and this time it involves a Batman with Green Lantern on Oa, and it's interesting to see the version of Green Lantern that they use is Guy Gardner. They don't use like John Stewart or Hal Jordan, two of the better known Green Lanterns.
I guess his Guy Gardner was better for comedic effect, which is what the series is going for.
Yeah, exactly.
Just as a green super pickle. He very much reminds me of Ben Grimm, the Thing.
I can see that. I can kind of see that. The human guys. Yeah, I definitely can see that. But
I'm kind of a closeted Green Lantern fan for the most part, but I don't really dabble in the Lantern stuff often.
Yeah.
You usually think of the Green Lantern as a big brain type of superhero, but Guy Gardner is fun because he was kind of just muscle.
Exactly that. But
it's mostly just will and. Yeah, it's mostly just will, and honestly, if you have enough willpower to like muscle through shit, then honestly, it doesn't really require that much brain. The entire Lantern Corps in general requires brain for the most part, but come on.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Guy is supposed to deal with the prisoners there, and he enjoys taunting them. There's a good joke with the Green Lantern Corps having to have Batman there as security, not for the prisoners, but for Guy Gardner against the prisoners, which is a funny thing.
Wait a second. I got a call. I need to go.
Take your time. It's all good. All right. All good. Talk to you anytime. That was just a guest of the episode. We'll call him Jen for now, and maybe he'll come back. But anyway, back to the episode now. What happens is a guy taunts a miniature prisoner and he dumps coffee on his head. Batman basically warns Guy that the prisoner is from a species that grows when it gets in contact with any liquid. And one thing that's interesting is the prisoner, when he of course he grows giant and he starts rampaging while the other Green Lanterns all try to stop him but fail. One thing that's interesting, I don't know if this is intentional, the prisoner looks a little bit like Hedorah from Godzilla. They're very similar. Yeah,
and honestly,
like the shape of it,
yeah, and also the little prisoner also makes me think of those little you put those little toys in water and then they grow.
Oh yeah, and also like that one thing with the Powerpuff Girls. That's what it reminds me of too a little bit.
Nice.
That little pet thing that kept growing. It definitely reminds me of that as well. Yeah.
Little thing. The mayor's like, "Oh, I think I'll have one." Oh, whoopsies. Nope, we're not doing it.
That was a great one. Yeah. But anyway, getting back to this. Sorry about that little mini tangent there.
Yeah, mini tangent.
Well, we'll get back to the episode right now. Sorry about that. Batman uses a batarang to distract the prisoner while Guy attacks him with all kinds of heavy objects. And in a pretty good gag, Guy tries dropping a giant piano, an anvil, and like a battleship on top of the prisoner, which means I guess that Guy Gardner got all of his combat knowledge from Wile E. Coyote.
Honestly.
Yeah. But anyway, the prisoner grabs hold of Guy and he just starts basically pummeling him as Batman uses a device that removes all the liquid from the guy's body, which of course Batman would have that because he's Batman. And
then he puts a bucket on him.
Yeah, and that traps him, and Guy is forced to clean up the mess that he made. And then we get to one of the best parts of the show, in my opinion, which is the jazzy theme song, which really the soundtrack in general is really, really great. And again, I love how they have like all the buildings and whatnot are made up of text, and we see like comic book cell images of all of Batman's allies. And again, this really shows how much fun they had with the show to do something different than like Batman the Animated Series, and yet still had it turn out really, really good.
Oh yeah. It's also also the theme sort of somewhat reminds me of both like the stuff from the 60s and whatnot, and also like Venture Bros a little bit, but it also reminds me a bit, oddly enough, of Tarzan. I don't know if that's just me.
I can kind of see that, yeah.
Like the little bongo drum just makes me think like, man.
Yeah, exactly. It really has a 60s vibe to it. And again, it feels like something that they would do in the Silver Age. And let's just say it's a lot better than the actual Batman cartoon that they did in the Silver Age by Filmation, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, the episode proper begins with the prison break in Gotham. And this, again, it's funny that you mentioned 60s Batman because this is really such a nice touch. All of the prisoners that break out, all of them are the bad guys from the 60s Batman. They have like all of the like obscure characters. They have Egghead, who was played by the great Vincent Price. They have King Tut. They have Louis the Lilac. They have the Clock King, and he looks like how he did in the episode, which is nice.
Man, it's also funny. Like when Batman knocks him out, is like Clock face opens up and it's just him
to his real face. That's a good gag too. Yeah, but I really like that. They actually. I mean, when's the last time Batman referenced the villain that was played by Milton Berle? That's again why I like this show. They weren't afraid to actually go back to the original show. Granted, the animated series did, but not really as much as I think Brave and the Bold definitely took inspiration from it, and it's very good to see that. Brave and the
Bold was 100% like Adam West / freaking Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Yeah, but it did take itself a little bit more seriously, which again I did enjoy about that.
Funny thing, actually. This was the same animation stuff that Scooby-Doo would use later on. Interesting enough.
Yeah, exactly same. Yeah, exactly the same. And speaking of which, there is a Batman Brave and the Bold meets Scooby-Doo movie. And the Dragoness in this episode appears in a Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movie, but we'll talk more about that later, so keep tuned. But yeah, Batman and the Green Arrow show up at the same time to take down the prisoners. Green Arrow remarks that Batman is afraid that he'll show him up again. And then they make it like a contest to see who can take down more prisoners, and they end up tying. I like the montage because it's a lot of fun. We get to see all their different combat skills, which is great. And the fight choreography on this show, again, it's not the animated series, but it's not trying to be. It feels more fluid, which is what they want to do with it. And also with the whole thing with Batman and Green Arrow having like a friendly, competitive vibe to it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and honestly, kind of reminds me a little bit of like Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny's relationship. Like, you'd think they'd be at each other's throats like Daffy or freaking Donald Duck, but
not really. I can understand that. It also reminds me of something else, and I'll talk about that more about that in a couple minutes because we'll be getting to it soon. But an elderly prisoner with a beard. He attempts to escape as Batman and Green Arrow throw a batarang and an arrow at him. The old man uses magic to deflect their attacks, and then he casts a spell that teleports the three of them back in time. I like this one joke that Batman remarks that, we teleported through time, and Green Arrow sarcastically remarks, oh yeah, you really are the world's greatest detective. That really is something that is just so in character, and it is a really good joke.
Yeah.
Of course, the old man reveals himself to be Merlin the magician, and he teleported them back to the 5th century. So I guess Merlin was in jail for vagrancy after the events of Sword in the Stone.
Maybe. Or,
Yeah.
the less fun option. He traveled back in time and disguised himself as a prisoner because
that too, yeah.
he just basically pulled a Roshi and showed he's more badass.
That too. That also could definitely work. And
Also,
Merlin too,
it's funny, it's also funny that Merlin pretty much explains to Batman and Green Arrow that they're pretty much in the medieval times, and Green Arrow is still not convinced whatsoever. But Batman sees Merlin summon birds or something like that.
Yeah,
and he's
I was just gonna say that he turns one of Green Arrow's arrows into a bird, and Batman, that's enough to convince him. Merlin.
I'm convinced.
Yeah, which again, Batman is the straight man in all of this, which really actually works out better because again, Batman himself is not an inherently comical character. But when you have comical stuff or comical characters around him, he is perfect as he's the perfect guy to actually react to this sort of stuff. So Merlin reveals through flashback that Morgana Le Fay took over Camelot and turned all the Knights of the Round Table to stone. Morgana, to me, she resembles Maleficent a little bit. Not so much with the skin color, with the hair, but definitely with the outfit. And of course, the demeanor, which we will get to that more of in a little bit as well. But she definitely seems like the animators took inspiration from Maleficent for her.
A little bit.
Yeah.
She also reminds me a bit of Narissa and her behaviorisms and her look a little bit.
I can see that too. Sure. A little bit more than Narissa with the whole superiority complex and whatnot. That definitely too ties into it. And of course, Merlin then mentions that the student has surpassed the master, which I guess that means that he's Obi-Wan and she's Darth Vader in this in this little bit of tale here. But it turns out Merlin,
Obi-Wan, however, he doesn't die.
Yeah. So he's tougher than that. But Merlin is revealed to have kept Excalibur, and he says that only one is worthy to have it. He says that according to the ancient runes, that both Batman and Green Arrow had the capacity to have Excalibur, but he's not sure which one, so that's why he has to bring both of them. And of course, this leads to Batman and Green Arrow basically fighting, not fighting, but basically, remarking that they are the ones who should be worthy, which, again, is something that is very interesting for Batman, because you don't really get to see this kind of side of him being a little, a petty guy in that. Yeah. He's always the more serious, stoic, humorless type. So to see him succumb to a jealousy like this, or envy and stuff, it is very, very interesting. But what happens
is him owning that this is petty and childish while continuing to do it.
It also kind of reminds me a bit of the Batman, because in that one, even though he's super serious or whatnot, it's basically him just a younger, more pretty. Oh gosh, I don't know how to describe it, but it's basically a younger Bruce Wayne who also gives into some of those things sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely can see where you're coming from with that comparison. But Morgana basically is watching them through a crystal ball, of course, obviously. She basically demands that Merlin should not get to the castle, and she gets her servant Jason Blood to do it. And she transforms Jason into Etrigan the Demon in a pretty decent transformation sequence. It's not as good as the one we're going to talk about in a little bit, of course, but it definitely is a neat one. I think that Etrigan has a cool design for a demon, with the ridged ears being a very interesting element to it. Here's one thing I have a question of. Was he really in Batman? Because I was a fan of Batman, never read the comics, never had any comic books of really anyone, so I'm not sure if he...
I can't speak to the comics, but I do know that he appeared in the animated series Justice League, and a few times in the other Justice League sort of things. So I do understand that he has had some levity in the Batman universe, but I don't think he originated from Batman.
I see.
Don't quote me on that, but if any of you know
I get you.
He first appeared in a comic called The Demon, and he is often associated with the Justice League. So because Brave and the Bold seems to be pulling from the Justice League roster all willy-nilly, that's how they got him in this.
I see. That makes sense. Okay.
His origin is Morgan Le Fay, so kind of fits to have him here.
I see. So it actually is like it's canon. It's not like taking like creative liberties. This basically is canon as to how it happened. Maybe soften up a little bit, but I get it. Okay. So it then cuts to Merlin riding along with Batman and Green Arrow. Unfortunately, they were going to go see Saruman the White, but he told them, but they denied him. So he showed them the Way of Pain and kicked him out.
Ooh, wait. Remind me who where the Way of Pain was?
It was just a joke. Never mind. It was just a Lord of the Rings joke. But anyway, the trio is then ambushed by Etrigan and Morgana's other henchmen. Batman gets beaten by Etrigan, but Merlin gives Batman an axe and a shield, and Green Arrow, meanwhile, is treating it like a competition, much to Batman's annoyance. Excuse me, folks. I'm just going to take a break from that 1 quick second to let you know that Stryker has arrived.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
No, all good. What happened earlier, for those of you listening, Discord went down for a little while, so we had to deal with that for a little bit. So our apologies if this episode isn't as polished as some of the other ones, because we were stressing out a little bit, but it's all good now. So yeah, as you were saying, Green Arrow is basically treating them fighting the monsters as a competition to Batman's annoyance, but then Batman counts a two-headed monster as one, proving that the friendly rivalry is still on, and I'm sorry, this definitely seems like it was intentional. It really reminds me of Gimli and Legolas, when Legolas takes down the giant elephant and Gimli looks at it and says, that still only counts as one!
Yeah.
I'm making so many Lord of the Rings references on this episode. I'm sorry, but I mean, how could you
they're
not?
They're both made by Warner Bros., so...
Technically.
They are.
And I never thought of that. That's true.
I still count the Warner Brothers version of Lord of the Rings as canon.
Yeah, they are. I think they're the greatest version, the Peter Jackson ones, and
it's awesome. And also for those who are tuning in,
movies,
welcome, and for those who are
Jordan, our other co-host, is back. So yeah, everyone is here, a little bit belated than usual, but hey, everyone's here for now.
Logo.
So yeah, it's just so again, apologies for this being a little more disorganized than usual, but now we'll finally get back to the episode. Merlin reveals that Etrigan was his servant, and he vows to make him his again. And I do like this one part, how creative it shows the show was. Green Arrow uses an arrow tipped with electric shockers to take down all the monsters are a good one. And as I said earlier, the way they adapted the fighting in general, they made it like child-friendly, but yet they kept it to where it was still impactful and whatnot. Yeah. And Green Arrow and Batman both try to take on Etrigan, but he appears in a pillar of flame. Then Morgana is frustrated at this. She vows to take them down herself, but not before taunting the stone statue of Arthur. Then we cut back to Merlin, Batman, and Green Arrow riding along as the two argue about who took down the most monsters. And one part I really like about this is just how visibly annoyed Merlin is getting with them. Yeah. He's getting so frustrated with them. It is so hilarious that they actually went and did that. They could have had him as like the wise, old, master and that. But to actually give him a little bit of humanity like that is a really nice touch. I am really glad that they did that. And and then it turns out that both of them have to climb a gigantic tower to collect Excalibur. Green Arrow, of course, claims that he's the one who deserves Excalibur and not Batman, which causes them to have an argument and basically, to get them to ride off to it. And again, it's funny that how petty Batman is here, and he acknowledges it, but it is so out of character for like some of the other Batmans to act like this. But this one, again, it works well, and it works well for that more Silver Age tone that they're going for. And while they're doing this,
honestly, I bet Deirdre Bader, aka Rex Wando, is having a blast with this. And
definitely.
Interestingly enough, I think that the same person who did Joey Wheeler also did Green Arrow in this. I don't quote me on that, but I'm not sure.
I will have to check that out. But yeah,
it honestly feels in character for him to basically be, all rival like.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, what happens is two gigantic ogres appear out of the water, and they turn out to be the guardians of the tower. Sadly, they only roar, so we do not get to hear either of them say, What are you doing in the swamp? I'm sorry. I had to make that joke.
Yeah.
They also remind me a little bit with how they move. And again, I'm not sure if this is intentional. They remind me of Talos from Jason and the Argonauts. So, yeah, it definitely is something that the way they move is, again, it feels like it's trying to be, it's like the fluid animation, but it also feels something very Harryhausen-esque about them, despite them being in 2D. So yeah, Green Arrow takes down one of the ogres while Batman defeats the other. They both use like explosives to do so, which is a nice touch. Then Morgana appears before them and taunts them. She uses her magic to control Batman, and she turns him into a medieval knight that serves only her, which this is a very interesting thing here. Batman's brainwashed medieval knight costume looks extremely similar to the costume that Terry used in Batman Beyond.
Yeah, very pretty similar. Interesting.
Yeah, I think that it's supposed to be a callback.
It definitely seemed intentional. Yeah, it definitely was them because Paul Dini worked on this show too.
Yeah, it's also interesting that the tower itself looks like a sword thrust into the stone from a certain angle.
I never noticed that. That actually is a very good point. That is very good symbolism if that was meant to happen.
Yeah.
Batman is then forced to claim. I understand. So yeah, Batman is basically forced to claim Excalibur for Morgana. Merlin wards off Etrigan, while Green Arrow is given a sword and he's forced to fight brainwashed Batman. And this part of the episode, I feel, has like some of the best fight choreography of it, with Green Arrow quickly losing his sword and he's forced to use his arrows. Of course, Batman, being Batman, is proven to be stronger, and he's close to basically knocking Green Arrow off a cliff. Meanwhile, Etrigan manages to knock out Merlin, and he goes in for a kill. Then we get something interesting, a neat little subversion in that. Green Arrow tries to appeal to Batman, claiming that he's his friend and all the adventures we went on, and on other shows, that would be enough to break Batman's brainwashing and have him, save the day and whatnot. But here, it turns out to not be enough at first, and Batman actually kicks him off the cliff. Meanwhile, in Etrigan basically fighting Merlin, he uses like some kind of an energy ball to hit Batman while he's standing on the cliff, which I guess that means that Master Roshi comment you made earlier, Angron, is right. Merlin really is a Saiyan. Also, for those of you who have been a fan of the podcast for a long time, that is the second time we have joked about Merlin being like Master Roshi. And there probably will be many more to come. But Batman and Morgana ends up getting to Excalibur, but Batman then turns on her because it turns out that energy ball broke the spell that Morgana Le Fay put on Batman, so he starts attacking her. And Etrigan shows up, and it turns out he also has been released of his bonds to Morgana, so he's back to being Jason Blood / Etrigan for now. And Morgana is so enraged at this that we finally get to see why we are covering this episode, and it's a good one. She transforms into a dragoness. Now, her transformation effect is done in a really cool morphing effect as she turns from her human shape to a dragoness one on screen. It's not as detailed like something like Ludmilla being piece by piece or something like that. But the fact that they did this in like 2009, it's not like CGI either. It appears to be all 2D animation. Her going from being a human being to being a gigantic, imposing dragoness is a really sleekly animated one. It's definitely one of the most unique aspects of transformation that I've seen. And overall, it looks really, really good.
Yeah, and its feral form, it reminds me a bit of what's the dragon? I don't know. It basically looks like, I don't know, Maleficent or something a little or like every other medieval dragon for the most part. But
I can see that.
When she's in the air and like sort of like upright a little bit, she reminds me a bit of Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon. Not White Dragon, Abyss Dragon. There is a difference.
Huh.
It also reminds me a bit of Axe Dragon Newt.
Huh.
Yu-Gi-Oh reference for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, okay, that's okay.
And also, I want to point out something. It is not the voice of Joey Wheeler who played Green Arrow.
Oh, yeah?
Oh.
It's James Arnold Taylor.
Oh.
Who is he again?
Ratchet.
From Final Fantasy X.
Wow,
and Ratchet.
Okay.
Oh, dang.
From Ratchet and Clank.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Definitely, yeah. But also, like I said, that varies interesting. One thing also I do like is her Dragoness form in general. It's a really unique one. Probably one of the most unique Dragoness designs I've seen. Not so much with the body, but definitely with the face. Because she has like these 4 fangs protruding out of her mouth at all times. Her eyes are like pitch black with white pupils, which is a nice touch.
With green pupils. Sorry.
Green pupils. Sorry. My apologies. But yeah, she has a really unique design that it's reptilian, but it's just different enough from like a standard dragon to where it really looks good. It is something that I think it really turned out for the best in this case. And her Dragoness form is large enough to be able to rip through the roof, which very nice touch. And something that I always like with Dragonesses, including this one, is Morgana. It's revealed that she's still able to speak in her Dragoness form, which is something that is surprisingly rare for these type of characters, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And whenever they do it, I'm always happy that they do it because it's just something that gives them so much more character than that they just turn to a Dragoness and just start roaring and whatnot. That this is a rarity, and it definitely is something that I really enjoy. The fact that they distort her voice a little bit and they put an echo effect is another really good touch to show how big and imposing she is. And again,
at least it isn't monster-like with Ludmilla.
Ludmilla, yeah, exactly. It definitely isn't like that. And Batman then attempts to pull out the sword and the stone, and he can't do it. Proves that he is not worthy, unfortunately. Morgana uses her tail then to destroy a lot of the temple, and again, I really like how she also keeps her intelligence. Like, she's not just like a mindless monster, again, like Ludmilla. And even like with Maleficent in a way, she's using more of her skill in that to try and defeat them, which definitely, again, is something I enjoy to see. So,
yeah, it's pretty rare, all things considered. And honestly, it's very nice that she underwent a magical transformation because it helps keep her intelligence while also still, coming with all the perks.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, Jason then transforms back into Etrigan the demon. He teams up with Merlin and Batman to try and take her down. But Morgana basically takes the disguise as he smashes the entirety of the temple. Merlin has to save Batman and Etrigan by taking the small piece of rock that they're standing on and levitating it to the ground. Morgana then demands that Merlin gives up. And here's where something interesting happens. She breathes a green flame onto Etrigan and turns him into stone, which, again, the green flame is another reminder to me of Maleficent, which is not a bad thing, believe me. The fact that it's inspired by probably the most iconic Dragoness out there is not a negative for her in any way. But yeah.
I mean, this wouldn't be the first time like other companies referenced other companies for the most part. Like, there's this episode of Kim Possible where like they actually did like a spoof of like Hanna-Barbera and just Batman in general, the Fearless Ferret.
Yeah, and they got Adam West for that too. And
yes,
yeah, I remember that. But yeah, what happens then is that Morgana then turns Merlin into stone as well. She then turns to Batman, but Green Arrow distracts her. The fact that Green Arrow is still a braggart is another nice touch. How he doesn't care that she's basically a gigantic dragoness at this point, standing in front of him. And of course, Green Arrow then tries to pull the sword out of the stone, but he fails as well. And another element that I like is, again, Morgana taunting them about how they're only worthy for failure and death. And of course, Morgana breathes her flame onto Green Arrow and Batman, and you think this is it for both of them, but it turns out both Green Arrow and Batman have worked together to pull out the sword and the stone. So I guess they were both worthy after all, but they had to team up, and they didn't have to combat each other with... yeah, exactly. They didn't have to fight each other. What they had to do is work together, which, again, good message for the kids. It is a good message there.
Not everything has to be a competition.
yeah, exactly. And basically, Green Arrow then puts the Excalibur in his bow, and it strikes Morgana instantly in the chest, which kills her, which, again, happened in Maleficent. Prince Philip stabbed her in the chest with the Sword of Truth, and she died. Here, Morgana's death is just depicted as her, like, a flash of white happening and her disappearing. And this would be the final time that Morgana Le Fay appeared, unfortunately. So it's presumed in Brave and the Bold, I think. In Brave and the Bold, I believe.
Well, there's another time that she appeared in like the beginning of a later episode, but yeah, unfortunately, this is her last major role. Also,
and
this was
probably
the
last
only
time she
time.
appeared as a dragoness too.
Yeah, this is one of 2 instances that I can think of where like using a sword as an arrow is pretty dang amazing. Like, not since Uryu Ishida from Bleach did this particular thing was this particular thing so epic.
Oh, definitely. And Merlin basically admits to Green Arrow that he was wrong in that. And Etrigan then appears in a pillar of flame with Green Arrow's sarcastic remark of, "Oh, what a drama king." That's another good one. From like Etrigan's big noble demon speech, and Green Arrow just not taking it seriously at all is a good one.
Despite being a quote unquote rip off of Batman, I like this. I like the fact that they juxtapose Batman with Green Arrow.
Oh, they definitely did. They did that with a lot of the DC heroes. You know, they definitely gave one of the best versions of Aquaman. Plastic Man was amazing, voiced by the great Tom Kenny, and he is fantastic as Plastic Man.
Beetle's
Beetle's
awesome.
Yeah,
I still remember
what
that
they did with freaking Ted Kord, the Ted Kord Blue Beetle.
Yeah, he did a good job too. But also, Merlin then announces that both Batman and Green Arrow will be knighted by King Arthur. But then I like that even though they learn the lesson about working together as a team, they then start fighting each other over who deserved it more. And I love this part. Merlin is just so over both of them. He just sends them back to their own time. Like, he doesn't want to deal with them at all. Camelot is saved. Now get the hell out is basically what he does here. And it is hilarious.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's just like, get the fuck out of here.
Idiots. Yeah, exactly.
What's a bunch of a-holes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Merlin, by now, completely... Batman and Green Arrow are back in Gotham City, and they both end up racing each other in their respective vehicles to see who stops a bank robbery first. And yeah, that's it for the episode. Now, as I said earlier, this Morgana Le Fay Dragoness design would reappear in a Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movie. I believe it was called The Sword and the Scoob, but don't quote me on that.
Oh dear.
We will discuss that on the podcast sometime, probably sometime in the near future. So be sure to listen for that. They do use the exact same design. I don't know if they use the same voice actress. I will have to look that up. But it is interesting that they did bring back the character for something that is completely unrelated. Basically, although Batman did cross over with Scooby-Doo. Batman Brave and the Bold, crossed over with Scooby-Doo once in the direct-to-video movie, but once in what is probably my favorite episode of Brave and the Bold is the one with Batman telling all the different stories of Batman. He does like the Batman manga from the 60s. He does a parody version of Batman. And then he ends it with Batman and Robin meeting Scooby-Doo and finding the Joker. It is probably the most hilarious Batman Brave and the Bold ever was, with how it satirizes basically how corny the Scooby-Doo Batman crossover in the 70s actually was. The one part that I really do enjoy, and probably is the best part of that episode, is the part where Batman and Robin are fighting the Joker, and then it cuts to a safety public service announcement like they used to do, and like Batman is like, no, Batman is, Robin, if you fall in a shark tank, this is what you should do. And they turn to the camera and everything, and it is just so well written and well done. And I love how also Batmite pauses the episode at some points to point out some animation errors, like, oh, look, they colored Batman's hand wrong, and that's the wrong bat symbol. How could they be so sloppy? And the fact they actually acknowledge, like, Hanna-Barbera being, like, crappy animators in the 70s with all the errors they did, that is funny as hell. I'm sorry, that is funny.
It's not, don't apologize, it is funny.
Yeah, it also reminds me of this one scene from Wander Over Yonder where, like, Lord Hader is pretty much trying to make his own show, saying how much Wander ultimately sucks and that he's awesome. But, like, he makes it show like, oh, animating is so hard. People who do this for a living deserve more respect. And he, like, looks at the screen and it's like, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. But yeah, Brave and the Bold had a lot of really good episodes, and it lasted for quite a while. I think it lasted for like 3, maybe 4 seasons. And
I think 3 seasons.
3 seasons, yeah. And again, it's a really good show. It's definitely one of the more underrated Batman animated shows. I'm not saying it's as good as Batman the Animated Series, because nothing could be as good as that, but I feel like this is a really close second for me, just because if we're going by just Batman shows, not like Justice League, not like, not like, with an ensemble, just on the Batman show, this might be my second favorite, just for how fun it is and how well they did everything with it. And yeah, so what do you guys think of Brave and the Bold in general? And then we'll get to the question of the week.
I think it's pretty awesome. Like, I grew up with this when I was still in like elementary school. I ultimately kind of lost it around the same time I also lost Ben 10 Alien Force, because my focus was a little wonky at the time. I was focused on other stuff instead of Batman. But yeah, I absolutely, like, going back and watching this show, I absolutely remember why I loved Batman the Brave and the Bold in the first place. And it's honestly, in my opinion, better, hot take here, better than Teen Titans. No joke.
I can see that. I feel like, Batman Brave and the Bold balanced comedy and seriousness more than Teen Titans did at some points. Not all the time, but sometimes it can get a little strange. So I feel like this time it worked out for the best. So yeah.
No kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, and now that leads to the question of the week, which is what are your favorite Batman memories in general? And for me, like I say, I first saw Batman, of course, with Batman the Animated Series on TV and stuff like that, and of course, video games. The first movies I saw actually were the Tim Burton / Schumacher quadrilogy, and hot take, I like them a little bit better than Nolan, just a tiny bit. I like Nolan, don't get me wrong, Dark Knight is a stone cold classic and whatnot, but I feel like, if we're comparing them directly, I feel like at least Burton, maybe not Schumacher, but Burton, I feel like got Batman a little bit more. He got it just like a little bit more, like, I don't know, maybe levity or something, but that is my opinion. And this show, of course, I actually caught it on TV when it was first airing, and I got hooked on it right away. I watched it too. It was a great, great show. I never had any of the Batman comics, believe it or not. I never got into comic book collecting, maybe because there were no comic book shops where I lived, and like they didn't sell them at like newspaper kiosks and that. It was very hard to actually find these things. So yeah, I kind of never really got into that. But as a whole, I actually kind of like Superman just a little bit better than Batman, if I'm being honest, just a tiny bit more. But I still think Batman is an awesome, awesome character. He's an icon for a reason. Everything about it is, pretty good. All really well done. And overall, I feel like my favorite Batman memories are really just seeing the Batman '89 for the first time and being blown away with, this is what a superhero movie could be. Now, granted, I had already seen Spider-Man, the Spider-Man trilogy and whatnot, so it probably didn't seem as impressive as it would have been if I had seen it in 1989, forgive me. But yeah, overall, I feel like it really just blew my mind how a movie like that could be made and get the focus of the character so well and does the Joker so well. I mean, Jack Nicholson is just so amazing as the Joker, and the effects work out, and it definitely is still a Tim Burton movie. I mean, look at the Joker's balloons if you don't have any doubt of that. Like the clown balloon, that is exactly like his art style. But yeah, otherwise, and of course, Batman Returns basically is a Tim Burton movie with Batman in it for all intents and purposes. Yeah, it's not a Batman movie. It's Tim Burton movie featuring Batman. But yeah, overall, I feel like those movies in general really are some of the best superhero movies, aside from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy and, of course, Spider-Verse and whatnot. And again, I feel like Batman '89 deserves respect for how it opened the doors to superheroes. Yeah, we had Superman, but Superman had increasingly gone downhill. I mean, look, 2 years earlier was Superman 4, Quest for Peace by Golan Globus. So, yeah. So, really, without Batman '89, would we have had the superhero boom that we did later on? It's a question to be asked. And, yeah, that basically sums up my Batman memories and whatnot. So, Angron?
So, to properly start this particular train of thought, oh man. So starting off, the first ever lunchbox I ever got for school was ironically a Batman lunchbox. It was plastic. It was made by the same people who did Thermos, I think. But yeah. Afterwards, the first actual media of Batman I ever actually watched was or remember watching was The Batman on Kids WB. Like the one with Tom Kenny as Penguin, freaking the young Bruce Wayne, like the movie Batman, the Batman versus Dracula. Oh man, those were some.
No, go ahead. Sorry. It's all good.
What?
No, sorry. You can continue. Sorry. I thought I saw something else. Go ahead. Sorry. My apologies.
Oh, it's all good. In any case, as I was saying, what was I saying? Oh, right. So, my next actual Batman movie, believe it or not, other than Batman versus Dracula, was Batman: The Tales of the Dark Knight, if I'm saying that correctly. It was mostly a scattered, anime-esque anthology of, telling a single story, but in several different parts and in different, settings and whatnot. But that aired on Toonami, and that was interesting. However, I think my first actual Batman comic would have to no doubt be The Long Halloween. That was basically with me my entire formative high school experience, for the most part anyway. There are other books that I was more interested in, but Long Halloween, I would give that a read whenever I ultimately felt like returning to it. And oh boy, it was definitely a story. Oh man, I am still shocked at the ending. I'm not going to spoil it. Those of you who already read the book, great. Don't spoil it. Those of you who haven't, reverence. That is important.
Yeah. That is a classic one. Long Halloween. Oh yeah.
I haven't read it yet, but I'm planning on reading it one of these days.
I will spoil nothing.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's a classic one. It is a bona fide classic, you know.
Yeah, and it's basically just Batman flexing his mantle as the world's greatest detective. You know.
Yeah.
And this is a mystery that to this day he thinks he solved, but I am not gonna spoil anything.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. So, Stryker.
My memories for Batman are all here and there. It mainly started with things like the Batman, as well as Batman the Animated Series. But what really cemented my interest in Batman were the Arkham games.
Nice.
Yes.
I started with the original Arkham Asylum, and then played Arkham City. I was officially hooked with Arkham City. I didn't really enjoy Origins as much as every other game of the series.
Come on, man, that Deathstroke in it.
Ain't true, and I did pre-order it, by the way. I got the Deathstroke DLC.
Awesome.
But the multiplayer saved it for me.
Nice.
Wait, there was multiplayer?
Yeah, there was a multiplayer mode in Origins.
Fuck yeah, I want to get Origins and do that.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
It's gang wars with Batman in it.
Yeah, see, I always like when they do a different takes on it like that. Yeah,
it was good. It was really good. If you knew how to play as each team, that is. Because after a while you can take control of either Joker or Bane.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'd rather take control of Deathstroke.
Honestly, no, you can't. He's not an option.
Oh,
that's a shame.
You can play as him in in the challenge map. So yeah, the challenge map DLC.
Yeah. That sounds really. That's a good way to get into it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but my personal favorite part of the Arkham series was Arkham Knight. And a lot of people actually find it not as good as the rest of the trilogy.
I mean, to be fair on that front, there are some moments that definitely feel a little. I have not played this game, but I have heard that there is something in it that is a little divisive.
It's the plot twist with the Arkham Knight himself. Yeah, I'm not going to spoil what happens, even though it's a lot of people found it predictable. But even then, when I realized who it was still quite surprising the first time. I'm just like, wait, is that actually thus and such?
Is that actually insert plot twist here?
Yeah, no spoilers for that. Yep.
But I will mention that they do reference a very dark moment in the Batman comics with Jason Todd.
Oh
yes, we know.
Right.
Everyone knows about what happens with that.
Yeah, I think you can put the pieces together. I'll say nothing more on that.
Yeah, I'm just mentioning that they have Jason Todd from the comics, and yes, this is the reason why the game was rated M. Actually,
I can see that. I definitely can see that.
You can actually see Joker torturing him.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
Eventually killing him too.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. So yeah, Math. What is your favorite Batman memories?
Of course, the animation guy is going to talk about the animated series.
Yeah, of course.
Specifically, anything to do with Mr. Freeze.
Oh man,
yes.
What if I mentioned Mask of the Phantasm for sure?
Best version of Mr. Freeze.
Even as a young kid watching that series for the first time, I could tell the Mr. Freeze stuff in particular was just high art.
And it
really was, especially for animated television.
Yeah, it really was. It was made by the same people who made Animaniacs too, by the way.
I love how the Mr. Freeze stuff was so impactful that they actually changed his comic origin to be the animated series origin.
Yes. Also. Oh gosh, what was I gonna say? I was going somewhere with it. Like, other than Mask of the other than Mask of the Phantasm and all that, other than the animated series, a little bit of tangent. I absolutely adore what they did with Mr. Freeze in Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, they did a good job with that too.
Yes.
Harley.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
and that too. They did. Yeah, really good job with Harley. Yep.
Yeah, she was she literally
very interesting. Let's do it that way. Very unique. Yes.
Yeah.
They did something mutagen with the mutagen with her.
Yes, they did something with the mutagen for a lot of them. Like,
yeah. It was
really good.
Fun one.
Yes, it was good.
But no, I definitely went where you're coming from with the animated series in general, which is definitely one of the best versions of Batman. And Kevin Conroy, rest in peace, sadly, definitely is one of the best actors who played Batman probably ever, really.
Yeah, so, I mean, Deirdre Bader and freaking Christopher Nolan definitely come close. Also, Adam West, rest in peace as well. But man, Kevin Conroy. He is up there.
That was the biggest. That was the biggest blow to Batman fans. Was Kevin Conroy?
No kidding. Like so much so that Mark Hamill, the guy who voiced the Joker, literally gave up voicing the Joker because honestly, it's pretty poetic. I mean, this is the guy who voiced the Joker, and without Batman, there's no crime. Crime has no punchline. You know?
Huh. That is very true, huh?
Yeah.
Plus, The way he said it, it was like as if you were one of his best friends, actually.
Yeah, like the
that's
Killing Joke.
always-
Holy hell, Mark Hamill is quite literally the Joker.
He is
let's not
God
beat
as
around the
Joker.
bush.
Very much so. I never thought of that. Yeah. So anyway,
Oh, man.
Jordan, what would you say are your favorite Batman memories?
Oh God, I'd probably
All good,
say
all good.
the Batman animated series. I never grew up watching them, but until I was
Same.
like younger and I had the internet, the power to watch it, I'm like, oh my God, I am missing out on some cool crap. And
I did not see it
every
until
time
high
I
school.
hear Mark Hillman doing
Mark
that
Hamill.
Joker laugh, oh, I just get goosebumps. I just want to laugh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hearing
That's
that maniacal laugh and hearing him just play this character, like, oh my God.
Definitely not the
can't
most
beat
disturbing
him.
he's been, but it's definitely up there.
Yes.
And I guess my other favorite would probably be the Batman Beyond movie, The Return of the Joker.
Yes, Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
That would
Yep.
be my second favorite thing about the animation of Batman, because again, you have great iconic actors playing these characters, and you get more details like what happened after Batman the Animated Series, and we see this whole thing with Tim Grayson. I mean, the new Batman
Dick
character
Grayson,
and
Tim-
all of
Tim
this. I'm
Drake,
like,
yeah.
holy crap! We see these old characters with new characters, and it just brings out this more darker, crazy, sinister thing with the Joker, and Batman gets like. I mean, he's old, and we see this, and we're like, the expression on his face when you hear that maniacal laughter that Bruce has heard for so many years, you see that. I'm like, holy crap, this is sick and awesome. So that would
Until
probably.
DC decided to reboot it a few years later.
I hope they do not touch
Unfortunately.
that, because that is God.
Yeah, we were close to getting a Batman Beyond live action movie with Michael Keaton, but
that would have been great.
man,
Wow.
did DC screw the pooch, or maybe Warner Bros. I don't know who actually did
I mean,
it,
yes,
but
that Warner Brothers did the Batgirl series or whatever, and we do see the legend of the voice actor of Batman himself as this character. We see him, and he says those iconic lines. I am the Batman from the animated series to the live action. We see that. And I see in the episode, I'm like, jaw dropped, like watching something. Oh my God, he did this. He is old. We see him with this whole thing, and we hear those words from the animated series that he did of the live action series. I'm like, holy fucking hell, this is beautifully done of him playing old Bruce. I'm like, wow.
man, it's awesome. Also, gosh, I forgot what I was gonna say. Really a bad time for me to forget that.
It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, anyway, LuckyEevee, what would you have to say?
I don't really have much because I don't really watch Batman, but I don't like him.
Okay.
All right, it's all good.
Do you have at least one moment?
Not really.
Darn.
It's all good. It's all good. Okay, so now it is time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale, where we rank, of course, the Dragoness. This week is Morgana Le Fay. I am going to give her a very high score. I am actually going to give her a 9 out of 10. I feel like the design is unique enough. She hits a lot of the buttons of aspects I like about Dragonesses in that, which is very good. And, of course, the transformation itself is unique and really, really well done. The fact that she still speaks is really good. And overall, she really represents a challenge to Batman and Green Arrow while still being Morgana Le Fay. It's not like she just turns into a random monster. She still is visibly and physically the character deep down. So she basically is a near perfect Dragoness. The reason I'm not giving her a perfect 10 is because I feel that if she had showed up just a little bit earlier, just a couple of minutes earlier, would have been perfect. Would have been like a perfect score. And but overall 9 out of 10, which is a very, very good score. And she's one of the most probably really good Dragoness designs for a reason. I mean, there is a reason, not just reusing animation, that they use this design in a Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movie that we will get to. But yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. She really is a great character. Angron?
Okay, you're gonna hate me for this, but
Go ahead,
despite
go ahead.
singing my praises of Batman and whatnot, I'm not the biggest Batman fan. I'm certainly a fan, but Batman for the most part can have its highs as well as its lows. But Morgana. Okay, so this is DC Morgana we're talking about here. I do not know what other. Okay, there's Justice League where she wears a golden mask. Let's not beat around the bush on that part. But here in Batman the Brave and the Bold, yeah, I am honestly going to go a tiny bit lower. She is not a bad character. Far from it. She's strong. She retains her personality. She's still cunning. She's still conniving. She's basically a supervillain. Let's basically put it out there. She is 100% a supervillain and one of the most dangerous foes that Batman's ever faced, and Green Lantern by extent.
Yeah.
I just wish she had a little more time,
Yeah.
I wish she had a little more time to develop like this whole thing, because like the build-up's awesome and everything that happens in it is amazing. But
yeah,
it's not 100% perfect for me. Her voice is amazing. The style's awesome, but there's just that little bit there that's keeping me from putting it in the same breath as your score, Lud. So it's for that reason I'm going to have to give her an 8 out of 10. Nowhere near terrible. I nearly was about to give her a 7 out of 10 because she's definitely good, but to quote freaking that Mandalorian guy from Wonder Woman 1984.
Oh no.
She is good, but she can be better.
Yeah. So
but yeah, that's mine.
That's okay. It's okay. So yeah, Stryker.
I'm gonna go simply 8 out of 10. She was great.
Nice.
She was really good. I have no complaints.
All good.
Wish she was better.
Okay.
Yeah, at least she was better. I will say, at least she's better than how they handled Ludmilla. Then.
Yeah. We are gonna redo Ludmilla later on the podcast lifespan. Probably sometime maybe next year. We'll have to see, but it'll be interesting to see if our opinions change. And plus, we have 2 new people that we didn't have when we originally recorded. But yeah, I understand that completely. Jordan, what would you have to say?
I didn't have time to watch the episode, but I know Morgana in Arthur history that she is a badass. And no matter where dimension she's in of universe, she's still a badass. And I like her dragon transformation. I might have seen a couple. So I'm going to give her between 5 and maybe 6 or 7 up to a half.
All right.
Hold on. Stand by, Jordan.
Sorry. Yeah, 6.5 is good.
I take it back. I give her 7. Or no, 8.
Okay, 7. That's good.
Nice.
Right. Okay, yep. Math, what would you have to say? What score would you give Morgana Le Fay, at least the version from Brave and the Bold?
I'd say an 8 as well.
Nice.
What's the issue with this character? Because I love her design. I love the way that they presented her. I love all the things that they did with her. They, not to the show's detriment, more to the characters. If you don't know the DC version of Morgan Le Fay, you are going to be a little bit lost on what the fuck is going on with this character. You'll get the gist of it, just even based on Arthurian legend, but you're going to be a little bit lost unless you know some DC background history here, and that kind of does affect this character a little bit.
I don't think that's really
about her, so
I don't think that's really an issue. per se.
It really wasn't for me
yeah.
either, because as when I watched this like for the first time, I didn't know that much about DC or some of its characters. I actually learned some of them from this show, like a Red Tornado and that. And
Yeah.
I have to say overall, I see where you're coming from though. Like if you're out of the loop, it could be a little confusing, especially with some of the other aspects of it. And that just leaves LuckyEevee. What would you have to give Morgana?
I'd say 8 out of 10. I like her design.
Oh, nice. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. This will be the episode that almost didn't happen because Discord was down a couple of minutes before we started recording. That's
and
why.
then in came Batman.
Thankfully,
with the
Batman
unisex
saved
hammers
us.
of justice.
Batman saved us all. We got to thank him for that. So if this episode is a little more disjointed than usual, we apologize. Some people didn't make it early on, so they appeared halfway through. It's all good. So if you have any questions or if you want to send us your impression of Vincent Price's Egghead, you can feel free to email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com or visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Next time, we'll be looking at the 2002 movie Reign of Fire, starring Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale. That's going to be very interesting to watch about and talk about, too. Yep. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this. And until next time, take care.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Later.
So
Adios. See y'all next week.
Laters.